Welcome to the Eczema Warrior podcast. I'm your host, Julia Chen. I'm here to help you heal your eczema naturally so you can finally live your best damn life. Many years ago in my own eczema healing journey, I was stuck and confused on how to heal my skin. Fast forward to today, after many lessons learned and lots of trial and error, I'm now living my best life and traveling the world with clearer skin. If you're an eczema or TSW warrior who desires a life of food freedom and is wanting to heal your skin without steroids while using mindset and manifestation as a tool, you're in the right place. Now let's get into it. Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of the Eczema Warrior podcast. I am excited because this week I feel much better. If you guys heard me last week, my voice was gone. I had a runny nose. I actually caught a cold from running the AC when I was living in Costa Rica, and now I'm finally back to normal and I can actually record an episode without sounding crazy. So this week's episode is going to be on elimination diet. And the reason why I want to talk about this is because it's a very common topic that comes up I feel like I say that for everything, but it's a very common topic that's been coming up in terms of what to do for healing eczema. And also, if you guys saw me last weekend, I was at the Eczema Expo in Orlando, Florida. And I feel like this is going to be kind of a big update, but the expo was absolutely amazing. Last year, I attended it in Seattle, Washington, and this year they held it in Florida. And it was a 4-day event where you basically just learn everything and anything when it comes to eczema, the newest research, the newest medications that are coming out, the treatments. But beyond that, you also learn about alternative options when it comes to healing eczema. There was a traditional Chinese medicine doctor that hopped on and talked about healing eczema from a Chinese medicine perspective. Nutritionists were on talking about diet and why you shouldn't restrict your diet for eczema healing. And what's actually even more amazing that I'm surprisingly shocked about the sessions at the expo is the fact that they had focused a lot on mindset, which is crazy, but also of course they would focus on mindset. I mean, this is something I've been shouting to the rooftops since forever. And I still feel like to this day, not a lot of people focus on mindset or know how to focus on mindset when it comes to healing. But I've actually seen the biggest results in my healing journey as well as helping my clients in their healing journey as well. And I was surprised when there were literally sessions at the Eczema Expo talking about energetics, talking about visualization, talking about just the impact your mindset has in creating your reality and healing your skin from just meditation and journaling and all the amazing things I swear by. And these practitioners were talking about it. And there were multiple sessions at this expo with the focus on mindset, which I found fascinating because, I don't know, I feel like a lot of people out there just think mindset is so woo-woo and meditation, no one really wants to do it because they think nutrition is more important, which I understand. But also it's there's a reason why the Eczema Expo literally has sessions on these topics because clearly it works and clearly it's something that is emerging. And if it wasn't emerging, then they wouldn't focus so much on it this year compared to last year, which is really, really interesting. And hopefully one day I get to be a speaker. It's one of my goals I'm trying to manifest is to be a speaker to talk about mindset because I'm just so passionate about it. And it was just so great. And the entire expo, I was yes. Every time the practitioners would talk about journaling and visualization, I would always be hell yes, this is what I'm all about. And this is also what we talk about inside Clear Eczema. Even this week, we did a breathwork exercise together at the end of our calls, which we always do every week. A couple of weeks ago, we did journaling, we do visualization, and it has been such a game changer with all of my clients. What else happened at the expo? Right. Meeting amazing people. When you go to the expo, it's such a inspiring, comfortable, and just empowering event where you see other people who are going through this condition with you and you just aren't alone. You aren't afraid to show your skin. You aren't afraid to talk about your skin or your eczema because literally everyone else understands, which is insane. And the energy of just being there, you can just feel how everyone's just so friendly. They want to get to know you. There's no judgment. People are dancing at some of the events. And it's just such a good experience. And I highly, highly, highly recommend all of you who's listening right now, who's interested in attending, to attend, because it's worth it. It is obviously going to cost money for the ticket and also flying to the destination, depending where you're coming from. But honestly, this is an investment on your health, on your education, on your eczema, and you just learn so much and you connect with people in the community, which has a big, big, big impact on your healing as well. And next year, they actually announced the expo is going to be held in Denver, Colorado, which I'm super excited. I most likely will be going, depending on, I guess, my schedule and depending on where I'll be in the world, since I'm like literally traveling the world right now. But the dates are released. I believe it's June 27th to 30th next year. So that would be really cool. So that's an update in terms of what's been going on over the past week. I went to Universal Studios the day after the Eczema Expo and spent the whole day with my client, and we were going on rides, and that was a lot of fun. And then now I just recently landed in Medellin in Colombia, my home base, and I'm excited because I don't know if you guys saw me, but the past month has been insane. I've been like running around, I've been traveling, I've been living in hotels, meeting people and surfing and going out to parties, and it's just been a lot of social events. And your girl's social battery is a little drained. And so I'm excited to just get into my routine. I started going to the gym and meditating again, journaling, and all the things to keep me grounded. Because yeah, it's been fun over the past month, but also it's been a little stressful with just some things going on as well. So trying to remain positive and stick with, my routines, which always helps when it comes to strengthening my mindset. Anytime that I feel a little bit ungrounded, I feel stressed, I feel lack, I feel scarcity, I just try to be consistent with my routine, which is an episode from last week if you haven't checked it out. Okay, I feel like that was a big update. For those of you who maybe recently found me on the podcast, you're probably like, shut up, just get to the point, which I will. So this week's episode is all about why you need to stop your elimination diet for eczema healing. Because I bet a lot of you listening right now are either on the diet because a practitioner that you're seeing has recommended you to follow this diet. Maybe you've heard it online and you want to try it for your skin, or maybe even done it in the past recently and you're struggling to come off of it. Or maybe you just have a fear of food because of a modified diet that you're on, which includes maybe removing foods that you typically don't want to remove. And so let's just talk about why are elimination diets so commonly used. First of all, there's a misconception, I would say, around eczema and food. There seems to be an ongoing emphasis that food is the reason why your eczema is flaring, or food is the reason why you have eczema. And after working with hundreds of clients over the past 3 years, reading research articles, attending the Eczema Expo, learning from other allergists about diets and why it actually is more harmful, what we've seen is that these diets actually are more harmful than good. Reason because when people start to avoid foods and they start to see healing in their skin, it's not the food that's the problem. It's something else going on in your digestion, in your microbiome, in your elimination pathways that's causing you to not be able to tolerate certain foods. That being said, if you have an actual allergy to food, like for example, you eat peanuts and you get anaphylactic reaction, that's obviously an allergy that you have to avoid. Or if you eat mushrooms and you get a stomach ache all the time, then that's definitely a sensitivity. Then that tells us that, those foods you definitely have to avoid. However, if you start avoiding all these foods and you're noticing your skin healing, what's going to happen when you add those foods back? You're likely going to flare again because it's not the food that's causing your eczema to flare. If your digestion is working optimally and you heal your gut and you figure out what your root causes are, A typical healthy person should be able to digest foods properly. And if you can digest foods properly, then you won't have any reactions. For example, I have some clients who, prior to working with me, they were avoiding proteins because they were itching from chicken and fish and beef. They thought they just have to avoid proteins forever. Maybe they just have a protein allergy. But after working on finding out what's wrong with their digestion and why they can't tolerate these foods and figure out the root causes, and obviously this took several months, they are now able to eat chicken, eat fish, eat tofu, eat beans and legumes, and meat without having any reactions. And that's the power of working on your elimination pathways and working on your microbiome, if that's the issue for you, instead of just like bluntly removing foods out of your diet and not realizing what that's going to do for you in the long term, right? And when you're also on these elimination diets too, you're avoiding so many foods. You can't eat soy, you can't eat dairy, you can't eat gluten, you can't eat nightshades, you can't eat spicy things. Like the list is so long that what happens with most people's diets, it ends up being so restrictive. And the more restrictive your diet is, the less nutrients you're going to get. And what we've seen with our clients and eczema warriors and just people with eczema in general is that a lot of people with skin issues like eczema have nutrient deficiencies because their body just isn't absorbing the food that they're eating. So number one, you're restricting your diet and you're not getting proper foods in your diet. Number two, you're also not absorbing because most people with eczema have some kind of gut dysfunction. Then that is going to be a problem because now your diet's restrictive and now you can't absorb your nutrients. So you're not getting all the nutrition your body needs for healing. So if you're on an elimination diet, I highly recommend to get some help from a registered dietitian or someone who's experienced in helping you trial removal of a food if necessary and add it back as soon as possible. The longer you avoid foods, the higher chance of you developing an actual allergy. And that's something that I've known as a dietitian, but also attending the Eczema Expo. One of the allergists was sharing to us that after 3 months of avoiding food, the risk of you developing an allergy to that food that you're avoiding increases. After 6 months, it becomes even more concerning. I have seen people who have been on such restrictive diets, for example, the salicylate diet, or just being on a vegan diet, for example, when they don't really need to. And now they have anaphylactic reactions to dairy, to eggs, to meat. And it's crazy, but it also makes sense because now your body thinks of those foods as foreign substances because you haven't had it for so long, right? Think about when you don't drink alcohol for, let's say, you go on a cleanse for a year or 2 years. And then one day you're like, I want to drink alcohol again. So you like go all out, you binge drink, you take shots, like whatever. You're going to feel like crap. Your body's probably going to reject it. You're going to throw up. You might even get your stomach pumped because your body's just haven't had alcohol for 2 years. It's not going to react well. Similar situation when it comes to food, right? You don't want to avoid things for too long. And definitely seek help for this because this is why we're here. This is why there's registered dietitians who are trained with this that teach you how to add foods back. Especially if you're starting to notice sensitivities, we can help you work through that. I have clients that I've worked with that we were able to heal their food sensitivities, and now they're able to eat gluten and eat dairy without any issues. Now, if you're listening and you kind of want to do this yourself and you want to figure out, okay, how do you start adding back foods slowly? What we say is you want to add foods back one at a time. So let's say you've been avoiding tomatoes, for example. You want to eat a serving of tomatoes, fresh tomatoes. And tomatoes come in so many forms. And that's another thing that you want to also consider too, that when you're reintroducing foods back, what form are you reintroducing it in? Some people can eat fresh tomatoes, but they can't eat cooked tomatoes. Some people can eat fresh tomatoes, but they can't eat canned tomatoes. So if you're testing out tomatoes in general, eat a serving of fresh tomatoes for lunch and dinner. And a serving can just be a handful, for example. So 2 servings, once at lunch, once at dinner. Make sure you're not adding any other new foods. There's nothing else going on in your lifestyle, in your diet that could skew the results. And then you wait 2 to 3 days for a reaction, right? Whether it is a skin rash, a flare, itching, But there's other symptoms to also look out for as well. Some people get bloating, some people get diarrhea, headaches. So that's why it can be really challenging in figuring out if you're actually sensitive to a food, but you want to eliminate any factors that can contribute to the result as much as possible and always record what's going on, any of your symptoms as well. Once you reintroduce the tomatoes and you don't get any symptoms, for example, perfect, then that's great. That means that you don't have a sensitivity to tomatoes and you can move on to the next food. So that's an example of how to reintroduce foods one by one, is to add it in for 2 servings and then wait a few days for the results. Again, if you need help, this is what I do inside my coaching program, Clear Eczema, and I help my clients come off of diets, find their root causes, have a proper healing protocol that's non-restrictive. And if you want support with this, right now we're actually taking a limited number of clients inside my one-on-one coaching container. I recently just announced this on Instagram that I'm taking 2 clients right now, one-on-one coaching. So you can apply at the link in the show notes below. Now, let's say you do react to some foods, right? Like you added the tomatoes back and you notice that you got itching. So then what do you do now? So if you get a reaction to a food, then that is an indication that you likely have a sensitivity to it. You would want to wait until the flare or itching goes away before you reintroduce the next food. You always want to wait, because if you're in an active flare and your skin isn't doing well and you're trying to add these foods back, you're not going to know whether it's just your skin flaring or if it's because of the food. So you can see how it can be quite confusing about what to do when it comes to adding foods back. And, I don't want you guys to get confused. This is just like an example of how to add foods back. If you need more support, please reach out to me. I'm happy to help you. But yeah, if you're on an elimination diet and you're wanting to add foods back eventually, you want to start off with one food at a time, and then you slowly add them back as you go and taking a break and not adding foods back if you end up getting an actual sensitivity or a reaction. Okay? And the last thing I want to say is, please don't use diet as the only way to heal your eczema. I feel like a broken record when I always say this, but I still unfortunately see a lot of people go to diets and they want to avoid high sugar foods. They want to avoid histamines. They want to avoid salicylates. And unfortunately, this isn't a long-term solution. And I highly encourage you to look deeper as to why you're doing this. Like, do you have an actual histamine intolerance? Like, do you actually have candida, right? Really dig deep before you jump on these diets, because the last thing you want is to go on these diets and end up having nutrient deficiencies, which is really common. And of course, having issues adding foods back can also be a problem if you're on these diets for too long. So if you take anything away from today's episode is, please seek help and start adding foods back. Stop going on these elimination diets. I know online is what they promote. Oh, go on this elimination diet, your skin's going to heal, but it doesn't work for everybody. And if it hasn't worked for you, then that is a sign that you need to look deeper and look for a different solution. If you found this episode helpful, please leave us a review and rating. This will help us a lot in growing the podcast organically. You can leave a review in the Apple Podcast section, in the review section. And if you leave a review, you get a free visualization once you take a screenshot of your review and send it over to hello@juliachin.com. I love you guys so much. Thank you for tuning in every week. And yeah, make sure you also tag me on Instagram as well if you enjoyed this episode. And we'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for tuning in to today's episode. Now, before I let you go, I want to let you know I have this amazing free eczema visualization meditation. This visualization has helped me so much in my healing. It has helped me manifest skin healing faster than I ever imagined. My clients and I use it. We use it all the time in our group coaching calls. And it's honestly the best tool to use when it comes to healing. Now, if you want this visualization, all you have to do is leave us a review and give us a rating. Take a screenshot of this podcast and your review. Send it to our email at hello@juliachin.com, and you will receive this amazing free visualization. Trust me, you're not going to want to miss out on this one. This visualization has literally changed my life. My clients and I do this every night before bed or even first thing in the morning, and it helps them heal flares faster. Okay, look forward to hearing your review, and we will see you soon.